Thus far, we've studied 10 different habits on how to bring divinity into our lives. And we'll go through all those 10 to confirm that you have them correctly. If not, the shlokas share them anyways. The Brahman yagna, and we just put that name there. That is a famous prayer, Brahmarpanam, etc., etc. And the idea is that Brahman is the individual, Brahman is the material, Brahman is the fire, and Brahman is the deity. Deva yagna, number 2. That is where the sense perceptions are offered into the sense organs. Number 3, Brahma yagna. This is where the ego is offered into Brahman. Number 4, Shrotra dini. This is where the sense organs are offered into discipline. Very good. Number 5, Atma samya. And this is where the ego is offered into discipline. And when I say ego, that is all of our perception and all of our response. Everything is offered into discipline. And this is an underlying theme in these shlokas is discipline. The habit of discipline will take one far in life, in any field. And we all know this, whether one's an artist, whether one's a physician, whether one's an athlete. This is necessary. And Lord Krishna is hammering it to us to make this a habit in these different regards. Then Shloka 28, there is 5 different yagnas. Dravya yagna, that was number 6. Sacrifice of wealth, materials. Tapa yagna, the sacrifice of voluntary discipline. Then yoga yagna, the sacrifice of self-effort to unite ourselves with all. Number 9, swadhyaya yagna, self-study. Number 10, jnana yagna. This is where we offer ignorance in the aspiring to take in knowledge. Those 10, and then we just studied prana yagna and anna yagna. And again, these names, we've attached these names for our own understanding. And what Bhagavan Krishna is trying to tell us is regulate our physiological functions. The way we breathe, the way we eat. Stay healthy. In the education programs that everyone came up with today, it was maintaining this body. Yes, we're not the body, but until we truly believe it, this needs to be maintained. And all of our masters lived like that. Swami Vivekananda, Ramana Maharishi, Gurudev, all of these people were dynamic physically and mentally. So they led by example, and we should do the same. Acharya means the one who leads by example. And if we take Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya, he walked up and down India 4 times on foot. There was no trains or cars or anything of that sort. He walked. When we went for a hike at Chinmaya Vibhuti, some of our yatris, they were KO'd on the way to the hike, and when they got there, they were KO'd too. And I didn't want to say it at the time, so I'm telling everyone openly now. I was like, right, we're only 20, 25, 30, 35 years old. Our next yatra that we're planning in 2013 is to Kailash Mansarovar. If one can't do this, then how are they going to be able to do that? Like I was sharing earlier today about connecting CHYK culture, one of our London chicks had come to me during lunch and said, have you ever been to Kailash Mansarovar? And I said, no. He says, you want to go? I said, let's do it. And in a matter of 5 minutes, we came up with this game plan. 40 chicks from across the world, 10 per continent. 10 from North America, 10 from Europe, 10 from Asia, and 10 from the whole Australia area. With Swami Srupananda, myself, and Open at that point. And the idea is we'll do Kailash Mansarovar, and within this, we'll create a yagna where all of the funds that we raise will go towards the Birth Centenary Project. So not only are we bringing divinity in our lives and going to this divine pilgrimage spot, but we're able to contribute towards a long-term project of Gurudev's 100th birthday. So everything is brought together in this package. So I'm putting the seed out there right now, and when it materializes, in this group, only 10 of you are allowed to come. So whoever sucks up the most now will get that spot. Stay healthy. Back to the shloka, Lord Krishna is saying, stay healthy. And those people who know these 12 yagnas, and whenever we hear know, it means live, they are purified. Because they know these yagnas, and knowing it is living it, and if they're living like this, then naturally their minds are going to be pure. Comes back to chitta shuddhi, purification of the mind. And this is so solidly stated in that a guru is someone who is not only shrotriya. Shrotriya means well-versed in the scriptures, but also brahma nishtha. They live what they know. And so for you and I too, we may not be Brahmanishta, we may not be established in Brahman, but we can be established in trying to live in Brahman. That's certainly in our reach. We may not be Shrotriya, we may not know all of the chapters of Gita, but if we can know select portions of 2, of chapter 3, of chapter 4, that's our attempt to be like that. Make that which is unreachable, reachable. We have to live what we're learning, and if we do this, we will be pure in mind. And if we're pure in mind, there will be peace. Such a simple equation. Naturally, the one who lives a life of sacrifice will be virtuous, and Lord Krishna will emphasize that. But now Lord Krishna also says, if one doesn't live a life of sacrifice, doesn't bring these habits of bringing divinity into one's day-to-day affairs, what happens to them? We're in Shloka 31 on page 66. Yagna shishtamrita bhujaha yanti brahma sanatanam Nayam lokostya yajnasya Kutonyah kuru sattama. In your books, I think there's a small line at the end of sattam. It's called a halanta. Do you have a small dash there? That's not supposed to be there. It's sattama. So you can correct that if you want. But if you're reading the English, it's there's supposed to be an A at the end of sattam. So it's sattama. Together. Yagna shishtamrita bhujaha yanti brahma Nayam lokosya yajnasya kutonya kuru sattama. Here what Bhagavan says, the eaters of the nectar, the remnant of the sacrifice, go to eternal Brahman. If one reads this at a literal level, it makes sense. Whenever we do a havan, at the end the black ash remains. And what do we do with that black ash? We take it and we put it on our forehead. And it symbolizes, again, that sacrifice. We take the remnants, that which is pure, and we apply it to our mind. And when the mind is pure, where do we go? Eternal Brahman. Or prasad. At the end of a jnana yagna, then often prasad is given. At the end of a puja, we give a fruit, mithai, whatever it is. And the idea is that's an offering from Bhagavan. Or, again, I'm looking at it very literally, anything that comes from a master takes one to Brahman. When we used to serve Guruji and our Acharyas at the head table, then we would look forward to eating whatever Guruji didn't eat. We would take turns washing Guruji's dishes. Because they say that washing someone's plates, you incur their positive karma. So imagine incurring the most positive karma from someone who's beyond karma. When we were studying, we had the great fortune of doing a pada puja of Guruji twice. And the second time, who knows how it happened, but I was able to collect the water that we used to wash his feet, and we kept that. And then everyone was given some of that as a blessing. Literally, the remnants of a sacrifice went to Brahman. But now if we look at the implied meaning, which is more important, if I live a life of sacrifice, where I'm always looking up rather than down, naturally, I will be ready for meditation. And when I'm ready for meditation, really that means I'm ready to be happy eternally. That's what this message is trying to say. Bring these habits into one's life. One will naturally want to just meditate, and one will naturally be who they are. Whenever we hear a beautiful song, whenever we see the sunset outside, isn't it natural just to close one's eyes? But that only happens when the mind is quiet. If the mind is agitated, no one wants to close their eyes then. So living this life of divinity calms the mind down. I close my eyes. I see the joy that is my nature. And we all experience this at small levels. But the more we do this, the more this becomes full-time, the more the frequency and the quality will grow. This is not an esoteric path. This is for our taking. This is who we are. And that person who does not live a life of sacrifice, who doesn't engage in these yagnas, that person has, Lord Krishna says here, that person is unsuccessful in this world, let alone the next world. And don't we know that? If I want to be a great dancer, if I want to be a great singer, if I want to be a great sevak, if I don't let go of that which is not good for me, if I don't prioritize my life, how will I succeed? It is not possible. One of my closest friends is a chief radiologist, nuclear radiologist at Beth Israel in Boston, one of the best hospitals. It's a Harvard school. And he was telling me, in medical school and post-medical school, you can't know everything they teach you. It's impossible. But part of the training is to let go that which you can't know, that you don't need to know, and focus on what you do need to know. In other words, prioritization. Business school is the same way. You can't know everything in business school. You can't read all they tell you to read. You can't do all they tell you to do. So part of the training is to focus on what's important and what's not important. And that person who doesn't know that priority, they don't succeed in this life. How will they succeed in the next life then? Not possible. Discipline and dedication is required for secular success and sacred success. Live this life of yagna. Make this a habit. We've studied 12 yagnas, and if we look at it from a microvision, we may be thinking, do these different yagnas lead to different results? Will they take us to different places? Lord Krishna answers that in Shloka 32 on page 68. Evam bahuvida yajnaha vitata brahmano mukhe karma jan vidditan sarvan evam jnatva vimokshase evam bahuvida yajnaha
Vidata Brahmano Mukhe Karmajan Vidhitan Sarvan Evam Nyatva Vimokshase.
The common saying, all roads lead to Rome. In the same way, Lord Krishna is saying here, all of these paths lead to Brahman. And for those who have ever been to the Toronto airport or leave the Toronto airport, there's a sign that says all roads lead to Brampton. Have you seen that sign? So the same idea here. All of these paths lead to Brahman. It doesn't matter which yagna one takes up, they're all, the result of all of them is purification of mind, which enables one to meditate. And the words that are used here, Brahmano Mukhe, very moving. Because our Vedas are often called Narayana Vakya. They're called the actual words or the breath of Bhagavan Vishnu. When he breathes, the Vedas came out. What he speaks is the Vedas. That's why the Vedas are described as the mouth of Brahman. Or another way to look at this is, it is Lord Brahma who holds the Vedas. Each one of his faces represents a Veda. And the idea is that he teaches the message of the Vedas and one gets realized then. In Brahmaloka, which is the highest plane of existence prior to enlightenment, if one reaches that, one gets Krama Mukti. Krama Mukti means that it's a matter of time before you get realized. Because Lord Brahma is the teacher there. He's teaching the Vedas. So how beautiful is it that if one lives this life of sacrifice, one will reach the Vedas. And what are the Vedas? The teachings of Lord Brahma or the breath of Lord Vishnu. And this word yanti, in the prior shloka there's a word yanti, which Adi Shankaracharya highlights. Yanti is the same word as repair. And he says the person who lives this kind of life repairs home. In other words, they come home. And that's what realization is about. Coming home. We've lost our way, and through sacrifice, through meditation, we come home. And where is home? We're already there. We just have to develop the eyes to see where we are. The implied meaning of this shloka is more moving. Here, Bhagavan Krishna says, know all of them as born of action. That all of these yagnas stem from action. And why that is more moving is because action becomes the means to enlightenment. We all have to act knowing that we can all be enlightened. That is a message of hope for you and I. That's a message of inspiration that I have to act, and if I just do it wisely, if I do it with bhava, with sentiment, with attitude, the right attitude, that I can be enlightened then. These aren't my words. It says, if you can't read the Sanskrit, read it in English. It says it right there. Know them all as born of action, and thus knowing you shall be liberated. Like Gurudev often says, we don't bake bread. You bake the dough to become the bread, but when we say we bake bread, it means that the dough is going to become bread. In the same way, Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, you will be liberated. So act, but act wisely. We have to take our daily affairs and transform them into divine affairs. How? Simply remember these habits. And enlightenment will be assured. It's just a matter of time then. It's a matter of regularity and sincerity. And Lord Krishna gives us some more insights into action in Shloka 33 on page 70. This is an important shloka, and Guruji told us when we studied this to memorize this shloka. Shreyan dravyamayad yagnat Jnana yagna parantapa Sarvam karma kilam partha Jnane parisamapyate Shreyan dravyamayad yagnat
Sarvam karma kilam partha jnane parisamapyate.
Lord Krishna says here, superior is knowledge sacrifice to sacrifice with objects. Everyone in this room knows the practical implication of knowledge. We know people who act ignorantly lack knowledge, and those who are cultured have knowledge. But what is the implication of knowledge at a philosophical level? Dravya means again, what did we say dravya was? Materials. When I sacrifice with materials, I create results. All right? When I do yagnas with materials, I create results. If there's results, what else has to happen? Someone has to enjoy those results. So I'm there too. And this body can only enjoy so much. And when it reaches its time, after that it has to die. But those results don't die with this body, which means what has to happen? I need to be born again. And this is the game that is played with dravya. I do this sacrifice with materials, I create results, I have to enjoy those results, and if I can't enjoy them in this body, I have to take up another birth, and another birth, and another birth. It's like Shakespeare saying, what a tangled web we weave when at first we practice to deceive. What did we expect to happen? Lord Krishna is saying the same. Karma does not end karma. Actions only beget actions. And that's why a lot of our parents, and I find this sentiment more amongst our parents than us, they say, I do good, that's good enough. It's not good enough. Doing good won't take one to one's true potential. If I do good, I'll get good happiness. But that's not what our true potential is. Doing good is not enough. And Adi Shankaracharya is so ruthless in a beautiful way. He says a seeker should be vigilant not to pursue these good results because they're only a hindrance on this path to enlightenment. They have to cut right through all of the benefits that come with nobility. It's like I was sharing in a meditation last year. When one meditates, one gains certain powers. They're called siddhis. Recently, someone had asked me if I could read their mind. And I looked at them straight in the eye and said, yes. Which freaked them out, and that made me even happier. And I told them I can read your mind not because I have a metaphysical power, but all I do is study my mind, and my mind is no different than your mind. So when I know my mind, I actually know your mind too. So different capabilities like this develop in meditation, and the idea is just to keep moving forward. Don't get lost in those powers. Don't get lost in the sights and the sounds, etc. That's not what our true nature is. It's like choosing gold instead of platinum. Let such ambitions not overcome us. If we think about action, it all stems from ignorance. I'm ignorant. I don't know I'm infinite. So this intellect thinks, hey, if I have a desire, this desire will fill in where I feel I'm left out, where I feel I'm incomplete. So I have this desire. This desire then manifests as a thought. I'm going to do this. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to go to this place. Then I will be full. And this thought manifests into action. But what was the source of all of this? Ignorance. Only when ignorance is offered into knowledge do actions end once and for all. Knowledge is not an action, which is why knowledge can end action. And the parable that goes with this, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, who's in the middle picture over there, we often hear, study, read that if you take a bath in the Ganga, that one is purified of all of their sins. Even Adi Shankaracharya says that in Bhajagovindam too. One is pure then. And Ramakrishna Paramahansa says, yes, that happens. But before one's first toe hits the Ganga, the ego, the sinner, jumps off and sits in a tree. And we go into the Ganga and we bathe and we drink the Ganga water, and all of those sins are taken away. And then as soon as our first toe hits the ground, that ego jumps back on. That sinner is there. And the sad part of this, we commit more sins then, because we feel so good about ourselves that now it's time to indulge, right? I fasted for so long, I should eat. This is what happens. It's like a confession, right? I did all of these bad things, I'm done, so let's do it again. Let's do it twice as much. It's that easy to get rid of them. Knowledge takes that ego away. When there's no ego, when there's no sinner, who is there to commit sins then? Only knowledge can remove that ego once and for all. That's why this shloka is so important. Actions are the means to the destination, but they are not the destination. Does that mean I should let go of action? That's like us saying we're going to get to Midway or to O'Hare, but we're not going to take any roads. It's the same logic. The road is not the airport, but the road takes us to the airport. So knowing we have to act with love. Love everything that you do. My younger sister and I have had so many conversations about boredom. Because since kids, we'd go to Disneyland together, we'd go here together, we'd play soccer together, etc. And she'd hate waiting in lines when we were at Disneyland or whatever. And she'd say, I'm so bored, and so on and so forth, going to India, planes. And I said, why don't you just read? Why don't you do japa? Why don't you do anything like this? You're creating that boredom. And it's exactly what Guruji says. Work doesn't tire us. It is the lack of love that tires us. If we love what we do, where's the idea of being tired? Where's the idea of being cold? If you love being outside. Hunger, pain, all of that is down here. You don't even feel it if one loves what they're doing. And where does love come from? It's simply a change in attitude. How can one person love snow and another person hate it? When the hand is the same, when the temperature of the snow is the same. It's simply mindset. We have to love the actions that we do because these actions will take us to the destination. We'll be ready for knowledge then. Then chapter 2 will all make sense. Then chapter 6, when we sit down for meditation, we'll be able to. Not like today, in 15 minutes of guided meditation and snoring. And that's why I did increase my voice. That way the people that are snoring wake up. We'll be ready then. And now we get to one of the most beautiful shlokas in all of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. One of the most beautiful, one of the most important, one of the most potent. And what Guruji had said about this shloka is, all of Vivek Chudamani, 568 shlokas, or however many shlokas there are, is a commentary on this one shloka. That's how precious this shloka is. This shloka teaches us how to truly gain knowledge. If there's one shloka from Gita that anyone has studied thus far in their life, if one can remember this, one will understand all of Gita. Page 72, shloka 34. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninastattvadarshinaha tadvidhi
परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः.
Tadvidhi. Know this. Know what? Pranipatena. By long prostration. And I'll take each section of this shloka. When Lord Krishna says long prostration, what does he mean by that? He means two aspects of this message. Long can be taken in a physical sense. What is a long prostration? Sashtanga. Sa, ashta, anga. Sa means with. Ashta, 8. Anga, limbs. One should prostrate with 8 limbs. What are those 8 limbs? 2 feet, 2 hands, the stomach, chest, stomach, chest, chin, and what is the last? Mind. That's the missing aspect, anga, that we often neglect, is the mind. So long prostration means sa, ashta, anga. Long prostration also implies the sincerity with which one should prostrate. But why prostrate? So many of us question that, right? When our parents say, go touch his feet, go touch her feet, go, put your head at Bhagwan's feet. Why? Bhagwan's everywhere. And Swami Ishwarananda shared very nicely in Niagara Falls, when someone gives a response like that Bhagwan is everywhere, he says air is everywhere too. But when it's hot, don't you want to be near a fan? Don't you want to be near an air conditioner where there's a concentrated form of air? So yes, Bhagwan is everywhere. But Bhagwan in the mandir, Bhagwan in the Guru is concentrated, just like a magnifying glass. Light is everywhere, but in that magnifying glass, it is concentrated. When one prostrates, this symbolizes emptying one's self. One's body, one's mind, and ultimately, one's ego. As I was sharing earlier, yesterday, maybe today, if this water bottle is filled with salt, every time I put water in here, it's going to taste salty. But if I empty this water bottle out of everything, then whatever comes in here will be pure then. And that's the idea, is that we have to empty ourselves of our negative habits, preconceived notions, our ego. And more symbolically, in our Upanishads, it's said that when the Shishya goes to the Guru, and how old is a Shishya when he goes to the Guru? He and she? 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old. That's when a Shishya goes to a Guru. And they go and collect dry firewood from the forest. And they wrap it all up and they carry it on their forehead, on their head like this. And when they get to the Guru's ashram, they take that off and they offer it at the Guru's feet. It's called samit pani. Samit is that dry firewood that pujaris use. Pani means in one's hand. What this symbolizes is These are my vasanas. These are my wrong tendencies. You burn them because only you can burn them up. Practically, the guru needs firewood. He's going to be living with the shishya. He's going to be cooking for the shishya, keeping the shishya warm. But the symbolic meaning is only you can take care of this, so take care of this. This is why I've come to you. Long prostration. Why this shloka is so important is because it shows the glory of Sanatana Dharma. That we have so many physical reminders of what needs to happen inside. That's the whole point of prostrating. It's a reminder to oneself to be empty. For those who have been to Chinmaya Vibhuti recently, at the Chinmaya Jivan Darshan, there's a glass case. A Sufi writer wrote his experiences with Gurudev. And he asked Gurudev, what is that mark on your forehead? And Gurudev goes on to narrate that when one wears a tika, it symbolizes that they did their sadhana in the morning. That's when you wear the tika, right? When you go to the temple, for example. And when one's done their sadhana, that means that they're going to be peaceful in that day. And if they don't have the tika, that means they've not done their sadhana. They're not going to be peaceful. Stay away. How beautiful is that? It motivates us to do our puja, to wear that tika. During our yatra, every day, I prepared chandan for our yatris to emphasize this. And I even told them, I said, they all look good wearing that. They should keep wearing that. Neil still has his shikha. He's going for vascular surgery interviews. But he still has it. He may not keep it, but the point is he still has it, at least thus far. Right? It's a reminder. See, I have my shikha as well. It's a reminder that the only attachment we should have in life is to the Guru. The only purpose, the only desire in life is realization. This doesn't mean that, I'm a shishya then. It's a reminder. It's just hair. No different than anyone else's hair. But it's a reminder, a physical expression to remind me of how I should think inside. So, pranipatena. Pariprashnena. Questioning. I wish Gurudev didn't use the word questioning. I wish he used dialogue. Because we have so many questions. And these questions are shared without us having put in the effort in the first place. So though it says question, I want us to hear dialogue. This dialogue with the Guru symbolizes analytical surrender. Not just surrender. That's fanaticism. Analytical surrender. That I've put in the effort to ask this question, to think about this question, to find an answer, but I know you know and I don't. So you answer this. I've tried, but I can't access this. I can't navigate the scriptures. You answer this. That's what it means by dialogue. And that's why all of our scriptures are a samvada, where the Guru and Shishya are talking. It's not the Guru yelling at the Shishya like I'm yelling at you right now. It is a dialogue. Didn't you have a Q&A yesterday? You had a Q&A today. You're going to have a Q&A tomorrow. That's the glory of Chinmaya Mission, really, is that we stick to our roots. We have Gurukuls. We have Balavihar. We have a Guru Parampara. It's authentic. This analytical surrender reflects we have to know how much we know, and we have to know how much the Guru knows as well. That's why I keep using the word analyze, not blindly. Great thinking has to be involved in this. And I remember Swami Prakashananda saying in Atlanta this past September, he did a Q&A. And at the end of the Q&A, after an hour of answering questions, he says, don't let tamas get into your minds. Tamas in the mind is asking a question without thinking. One doesn't grow when tamas gets into the mind. Make sure one's thought about that question and then ask. And the Guru was a Shishya once. The Guru empathizes. The Guru will be patient with the Shishya. But the true Shishya will engage in pariprashnena first. And sevaya. Seva, or service, symbolizes tuning in to the Guru. And know that the Guru is always there. Even in Peaceful Warrior, the Guru was always there, but only after Dan reflected did he tune into the Guru. The Guru Tattva is eternal. No Guru dies. The body of the Guru dies, but the Guru doesn't die. We have to tune ourselves into that. Just like the radio frequencies. Always there, whatever stations are around here. But one has to adjust that dial to tune into that. And seva, the implication of seva is humility. Only the person who is humble gets knowledge. Vidya dadati vinayam. True knowledge is expressed in humility. If that's the case, then humility will invoke knowledge then. It has to go both ways. Seva brings about humility. When we studied 1 hour mandatory Narayana Seva, where you had to go into the temple and use newspapers to clean the windows, where you had to sweep the streets, despite it being totally wet outside, that has to continue. To tune into the words of, for in my case, Samviji, Guruji, etc. If we can prepare ourselves in this way, the wise who have realized the truth will instruct, will teach, will give that knowledge to the one who is prepared. To the one who's not prepared, they won't even be interested in the knowledge. But to the one who is prepared, they'll get it. Definitively get it. The Guru is pure love, is pure empathy. How can they hold that knowledge? If one is filled with love, is filled with anything, it's natural for it to be shared. And what the Guru does, the Guru points out our ignorance. See, most of us don't even know our ignorance. Most of us don't know our wrong ways of thinking, our negative habits, etc. It's justified. We look to everyone else and say everyone else is doing it, so we say, yeah, it's okay. Like stress. Everyone is stressed out, so we think, yeah, stress is normal in jobs, in school, in relationships. But the Guru points out, hey, this is your ignorance. And only when we know our ignorance can we remedy that. Because the Guru recognized his ignorance or her ignorance and dealt with it. And now is encouraging the next Shishya to do the same. And you and I, as we sit in this room, Chinmaya Mission Chicago has been around for 30 years now? Is that approximately? Houston's been around for 31. Let's say Chicago's been around for 30 as well. This room, this building, has probably been in existence for 15, 18, 20 years. We are blessed beyond anyone's recognition to be in the sampradaya that we are in, where we have to have a master like Swami Tapovan Maharaj, who taught Swami Chinmayananda, who taught Swami Tejmayananda. And each one is a different physical expression of the one prior to them. How pure is this sampradaya? No controversy. No, we won't teach you. No, you have to do this. Such purity is this sampradaya. So any guru is great. You and I are sitting in front of this great sampradaya. We are blessed beyond our recognition. And even if everyone says, I know how blessed we are, we'll only know our blessings when we tune into the Guru to become the Guru. Then we will know. It's like they say, like our parents have often told us, you'll only know when you're a parent, right? The same goes with understanding the purity of our sampradaya. Our sampradaya meaning our Guru Parampara, the lineage of our Gurus. Study this shloka again and again and again, and Gurudev's commentary is tremendous. This is why you have these books. Please read. We'll do one more shloka, shloka 35 on page 75. Arjuna, though he doesn't raise the question verbally, Lord Krishna's giving an answer because he knows what Arjuna's thinking. And this is a question we've already raised, so we've already addressed it, but we'll do it formally. Yajñātvā na punarmoham.
Yajñātvā na punarmoham.
Evam yasyasi pandava.
Evam yasyasi pandava.
Yena bhutanya sheshena.
Yena bhutanya sheshena.
Drakshasyatmanyatho mayi.
Drakshasyatmanyatho mayi.
Yajñātvā
punarmoham. Evam yasyasi pandava. Yena bhutanya sheshena. Drakshasyatmanyatho mayi.
So Arjuna, in his mind, is thinking, just like we may be thinking, once I've tuned into this knowledge, once I know myself, is there a chance that I'll forget this knowledge? Is there a chance I'll forget who I am? Because if there is, this is not worth it. This change, this yagna that you're telling me to do, Lord Krishna, I'm not interested, because this is temporary too. And Lord Krishna says, O Pandava, knowing thyself, you shall not again get deluded like this. And he's not just saying that. If one looks at it logically, on day one, the first hour of the discourse I'd shared, we are infinite. All the math students, all the physics, those who are interested in physics, any combination and any permutation of two finite numbers, can it ever equal infinity? It can't. So infinity cannot be created. And that which is not created cannot be destroyed. So what that means is infinity is. It's not created, it's not destroyed. Our nature is infinite. So if Arjuna is thinking, if I get to know this and I forget, he's essentially saying, my nature is created and my nature is destroyed. But Lord Krishna is saying, no. Once you transcend this ignorance, once you know who you are, period. Your nature is not created, is not destroyed. You just don't know it, Arjuna. Know it. Know thyself. And the beauty of this message is, as I've said so many times, we are what we're seeking. We are enlightened. We are divine. Just have to develop the eyes to see. Yaha pashyati sa pashyati. The one who sees, but not with these eyes. Sees with the pure mind, who they are. Today, when everyone left the hotel room, how many times did we look in the mirror? But how much time or how much effort or resources did we put into tuning into yesterday's discourse or what's going to happen today? Right? On the yatra, I strongly encourage our yatris to forget about their body. Forget about how they look. Don't wear shoes. Only use your hands to eat, etc., etc. Don't use deodorant. Just forget you have a body. And many of them did that. Sheena only wore shoes when she got to Chicago. So she flew all the way from Pune to Delhi and all the way here without shoes on. If I were security, I would have arrested her. So ideas like that. So many times I've been on yatras in India or studying in India where I forgot how I looked. And when I saw myself in the mirror, I was like, whoa, that's me. And it was sad that I recognized that that's me. But I was happy that one can forget who one has looked at their whole life. We have to think that if our nature is not created, it means it can't be destroyed, which means it is. We are Ananda. And I'm only ignorant about it, which means I need knowledge. And when we have a vision that's filled with knowledge, we will still see male and female, blue and black, short hair, long hair. We'll experience cold and hot. We'll have cheddar cheese and mozzarella cheese, etc., we will see all of that, but we will know all of that is essentially the same. The eyes have to see duality. The eyes have to see depth, length, width, height, etc. But the real seer just experiences that essence, that oneness. And that's why Lord Krishna says, and by that knowledge, you shall see all beings in yourself. And then he follows up and says, and also me. So you'll see everyone in yourself and you'll also see me. He is unambiguously saying, I, we, Bhagavan Krishna are all the same. There's no ambiguity behind this message. That's why Swami Vivekananda says, don't worship Lord Krishna as Lord Krishna. Worship Lord Krishna as oneself. That's who we are. The next application you have, write Krishna on it. Write Lakshmi, that's who you are. When two people get married, everyone is supposed to bow down because it's not a female and a male that got married. It is Narayana and Lakshmi that gets married. In a Vedic marriage, that's what's supposed to happen. Don't think a male and a female are getting married. That's not what has happened. This is who we are. Be Brahman. And if we're not Brahman, we have an identity crisis. Truly. That's all we'll study for today. We'll do all the way to Shloka, what's the plan? We'll do to Shloka 3rd. Oh, I can't tell you. It's a surprise. How many of you, this is your first CHYK retreat ever? Nice and high. Just want to see. Okay, fair enough. I've seen you at so many retreats. So you got in under the door before? At the ends of a period of study, and when Nikhil told me today that you have to speak about this, I thought, wow, this retreat's gone really fast. It's over in 12 hours or so. So at the end of a period of study, one has the opportunity to express one's gratitude for what one has experienced and contribute towards supporting that. And I'm not going to speak about that. I'm going to read to you what our Puja Guruji, Swami Tejamananda, has written about, though it says collecting funds, really it is the same as Guru Dakshina. Please listen. Fundraising is a perpetual activity. A man wrote a book on fundraising. It was a large, beautifully bound book with art paper. Only thing was that all the pages were blank, except one, which had only one word written on it in large letters. What do you think that word was? Ask. So, the basic method of fundraising is to ask. We may have brilliant ideas, but to execute each idea, we need funds. We have to open our mouth so that others open their purse. Even if they are not in the position to donate, they may be able to give references to other people who may be able to give, i.e. your parents. We should not hesitate to ask. Here are some useful tips. We must have full conviction in our cause. Ask yourself, and please follow along with this. Is the cause or project for which I am collecting money noble? That's A. B. Is it relevant to the needs of society? And this is again why I asked who is coming to the retreat for the first time to think about these questions more so. C. Is my motive pure? Number 2, we must have faith and trust in the goodness and generosity of people. People are good and they will support our cause. Number 3, have total devotion and faith in the grace of the Lord and the blessings of Puja Gurudev. Today, the greatest wealth of Chinmaya Mission is, does anyone know? What is the greatest wealth of Chinmaya Mission? Devotees, he's praising himself. No? Does anyone on our CHYK steering committee remember? Not our Acharyas. I'd like to think that, but no.
The lineage?
No. 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 Youth? No. Credibility. Credibility. Chinmaya Mission, today the greatest wealth of Chinmaya Mission is its credibility in society. This is because of the work done by Puja Gurudev. The mission commands respect amongst the people. Finally, just ask. Really speaking, we don't even have to ask, we just have to inform. We hesitate because we are not convinced. Actually, by asking, we're giving that person an opportunity to serve a noble cause. He's not just a giver, but is also a receiver. If we're able to present this properly, the person will definitely give. We can tell them that we can tell them that we ask only those who value the work we do to give. To give or not to give is their freedom. Also keep in mind the fact that we are not asking anything for ourselves. Whatever we do, even the buildings we construct, are meant for everyone to use. Some concluding thoughts. Always start with yourself. You must give first. Do request your friends and those whom you know and where you have credibility. They may not know the mission, but they know you. Bring your friends to the mission and its events. They will get inspired. Often we get invites to weddings and functions where we are asked not to bring any gifts. We can try to persuade people not to say no, and whatever gifts come, to share them for charitable causes like ours. One can even say on the invites the gifts will go to charity. These are simple ideas which can be implemented with ease. You need not implement all of them at one go. Choose the ideas you like and can implement with ease. Always follow the principle that I follow. I must ask and I must tell. You can support all of the mission's projects and activities by spreading awareness. These are Puja Guruji's thoughts that I wanted to share with all of you. And know that whatever is offered in Guru Dakshina is simply all of the funds that are raised even higher and then shared with society to raise society higher as well. No person keeps anything. No Acharya gets a paycheck. None of the active people in our mission centers get a paycheck. All of this is voluntary. When I was stuck at the airport, the girl next to me asked me what I do, who I was, and so on and so forth. And I was busy doing my work, so I just wrote, go to chinmayamission.org and you'll see what we do, etc., etc. And she goes, but how do you live? And I said, I'm a volunteer. She goes, what do you mean? You volunteer all of your time? And she simply couldn't fathom that. But that's what we do. Everything is voluntary. Whatever you give, half of that will stay in Chicago and half of that will go to Niagara. And a lot of these ideas are so simple to do. I'll give you 2 quick examples of that. When Sheila and I had our engagement get-together, Sheila is my wife, for those who have not met her. And I know most people in this room are not married, and most people in this room probably will get married, so please heed this idea more closely. Instead of having invitations, we called all of our relatives, friends, etc., and said, we're having this get-together. Whatever you want to give, we're going to give half to Chinmaya Mission Niagara and half to an orphanage in Andhra Pradesh. And so people gave. They gave $5,000 and $2,500 went here, $2,500 went there. And on our tables, instead of having a vase or flowers, etc., or candy, we gave one of the Mananam books. And the book was Journey of Life, because being a grahastha is part of the journey of life. Then when we had our reception, we internally discussed that half of whatever we get as gifts will go to Niagara, and half Sheila will buy a CRV. So we're very clean like that. That everything I want going over here. And she needed to buy a car because she has to commute to work. But we didn't tell anyone about this because our families, if they know that we're giving to charity, give less then. So we tricked them. And very generously, our families and friends gave us $40,000. And so we wrote a check not for $20,000, but for $25,000 to Chinmaya Niagara. We gave an advance of $1,000 a year as well, and $20,000 Sheila bought a Honda CRV. And why I'm sharing this is because as we're learning about yagnas, for me, our engagement and reception was a yagna. It was an opportunity to offer this get-together for the sake of raising funds to raise society more so. Whatever we do, birthdays, engagements. Suraj did a performance here. He raised monies for court. How much? 20,000? 25,000? 20,000. In next month, we're doing Starving for Seva, Starving for Service in Niagara Falls, where our chicks are going to fast for 48 hours. And all of the money that we collect, we're going to send to Cord Sirvani, where our yatris went and worked for 3 days. In Chicago in September, we're going to do a half marathon. Same idea that we'll run the half marathon and raise funds for Cord. See the point? See how connected it is to the shlokas? Do what you do, but insert divinity. That's the life of sacrifice. That leads to purity of mind. That leads to joy.